The issue of remarriage for the elderly is both realistic and complex. For the woman, it often means seeking a form of financial security. For the man, it is about having a companion to care for each other in their later years. Such a remarriage is not only a choice between two individuals, but also a merging of two families. Managing such a family well requires wisdom as well as genuine sincerity from both parties. 52-year-old Aunt Wong and 62-year-old Uncle Jang met by chance and developed a spark of affection. On the night they decided to remarry, Aunt Wong gathered her courage and made a bold request. She hoped Uncle Jang could provide 200,000 yuan as security for their future retirement. To everyone's surprise, Uncle Jang agreed without hesitation, but he also set two conditions. These conditions caused Aunt Wong to fall into deep hesitation and contemplation. Aunt Wong is 52 years old. She is of average build, neat and tidy, and has always taken good care of herself. She lives on the outskirts of a county town. Because it is so close to the county town, her husband had always done small business before his death. Whether it was selling vegetables at the morning market or selling roasted sweet potatoes and seeds on the street during winter, he made just enough to cover daily expenses. Though they didn't earn a lot, they lived comfortably. Her husband loved Aunt Wong very much and rarely let her do heavy work. As long as she was at home, he didn't let her wash dishes or clothes. Though they weren't wealthy, Aunt Wong lived a worry-free life in terms of food and clothing. Aunt Wong had only one son who ran an appliance repair shop in the county town. Although the business was not booming, it was enough to support the family. The years they spent as a family were plain and happy. However, misfortune quietly descended upon the family. One day, in heavy rain, her husband was involved in a car accident on his way to the county town to sell vegetables and died on the spot. Aunt Wong was devastated, but her husband was gone forever. She lay in bed every day, crying her eyes out. Her son and daughter-in-law tried to comfort her, but she couldn't listen. Over time, she realized that all her sadness could only be buried in her heart and that she had to digest it slowly on her own. Time is the best medicine for healing wounds. As time passed, Aunt Wong gradually learned to accept reality and face life again. At just over 50, she still looked young. Through an introduction, she found a job at a supermarket. Aunt Wong, with her slim figure and youthful appearance, was soon assigned to the men's clothing section. She felt content with working in the supermarket selling clothes, as people of her age typically worked in the fresh produce section or as cleaners. Aunt Wong dressed up carefully for work every day. She had styled her hair in a trendy shoulder-length cut, wore delicate makeup, and when she put on the supermarket uniform, it was hard to tell she was over 50. Working at the supermarket gradually made Aunt Wong more cheerful. She made friends with her colleagues and sometimes went out to eat and chat with them. She was glad she had gone back to work. Otherwise, staying at home all day would have made her mood worse. Moreover, her monthly income of over 2,000 yuan was enough for her to live on. Aunt Wong did not have a pension. She wanted to save some money for retirement. Her colleagues who worked in the clothing section had retirement insurance, which she envied greatly. However, her family had never had such conditions before. Now she could only work hard to save money and prepare for her future. Aunt Wong had a very good attitude, spoke gently, and her sales were consistently high, allowing her to earn a considerable amount in commission every month. With a base salary and commission, her monthly income was around 2,600 yuan, which she was very satisfied with. Once, a regular customer who often bought clothes from her came in with a friend. The customer asked Aunt Wong to help pick out an outfit for his friend, who was going on a blind date the next day. He requested clothes that would make the friend look younger. Aunt Wong smiled and asked the man how old he was. The man, somewhat embarrassed, replied, "I'm 62 years old. A relative introduced a woman to me, and I'm going to meet her tomorrow. Based on Aunt Wong's suggestion, the man chose a very stylish outfit, a coffee-colored blazer paired with gray trousers. The outfit looked very good after trying it on. When he was ready to pay, he happened to run into the regular customer who had brought him. The customer had to leave urgently, so they quickly paid and left. After they left, Aunt Wong realized that the man had forgotten his phone. Knowing he must be anxious, she stayed at the supermarket after work, waiting by the door. Soon, she saw the man rushing back from his car to find his phone. Aunt Wong called out to him and returned the phone. The man was very grateful and said that if he had lost it elsewhere, someone might have hidden it, and he wouldn't know where to look. The man took out some money to thank Aunt Wong, but she firmly refused, saying it was their responsibility to keep and return lost items. It was noon, and it was raining that day. Aunt Wong was worried about how to get home since she didn't bring a raincoat. The man invited her to lunch at a nearby restaurant. When they sat down, the man asked why her family member hadn't arrived yet. Aunt Wong gave a bitter smile and said, "He passed away several years ago." The man quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought this up and made you sad." Aunt Wong replied, "It's nothing. I've already accepted reality. At our age, we have to come to terms with it. No matter how good a couple's relationship is, one of them will always go first. There is always a person who leaves first." The man also expressed his deep feelings, saying, "Yes, my father is gone too. In the beginning, I couldn't accept it and thought I couldn't go on. But later, life goes on day by day, and we have to keep looking forward." As they talked more, they found they had a lot in common and felt a sense of kinship as fellow sufferers. Aunt Wong learned that the man's surname was Jang. His wife had passed away 4 years ago, and he had only one daughter, who worked in the county town after graduating from college. Uncle Jang ran a shoe factory, which, though not very profitable, provided enough for basic needs. He modestly said that the factory was medium-sized and couldn't compare to large enterprises. Aunt Wong also noticed a shiny watch on Uncle Zhang's wrist, which seemed quite valuable. Though she didn't recognize the brand, she knew it was not cheap. Through this meal, their impressions of each other were very good. When they parted, Uncle Zhang directly told Aunt Wong that he wouldn't attend the blind date the next day. "I think you're quite nice. I wonder what you think of me." Aunt Wong's heart was also stirred. She had a good impression of this man, thinking that Uncle Zhang seemed like a down-to-earth businessman. That night, Aunt Wong couldn't sleep at all. She lay awake, replaying every moment from meeting Uncle Zhang as if watching a movie. Although Uncle Zhang was 10 years older, she felt the age difference could be ignored because finding a sincere person was too difficult. She had had relatives and friends introduce potential partners before, but those old men would clutch their wallets tightly, afraid of being robbed. They wouldn't even treat her to a meal. The next morning, unexpectedly, Uncle Zhang called early, saying he had bought breakfast for Aunt Wong and asked where she lived. When Aunt Wong mentioned her village, Uncle Zhang said his factory was just behind her village. Aunt Wong had not known that the shoe factory was Uncle Zhang's. She often passed by that place. Soon, Uncle Zhang arrived with a warm breakfast. Aunt Wong felt warmth in her heart as she ate. Since her husband's death, she had been lonely. She had lived with her son for a while, but her daughter-in-law's attitude gradually worsened, so she had tactfully returned to her own place. This breakfast from Uncle Zhang completely opened Aunt Wong's heart. Sometimes, an inadvertent gesture or a warm word can win someone's heart. Aunt Wong and Uncle Zhang dated for 6 months, during which they fully recognized each other emotionally and discussed living together in the future. Uncle Zhang said if Aunt Wong married him, she wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. She just needed to manage the household, as he lacked someone who understood his needs. Aunt Wong was reassured. Since she didn't have a pension, finding a partner was like finding support. She finally had a place to retire. However, Aunt Wong wanted to continue working at the supermarket after marriage. She was still young and couldn't stay idle at home. She felt that not having a pension was her biggest regret. They held a wedding ceremony, inviting all their relatives and friends. Aunt Wong invited her family and her colleagues from the supermarket. Everyone had a meal together. During the meal, a business partner of Uncle Jang drank a bit too much and said, "Brother Jang, you're really lucky. Your business has been doing well these years, making hundreds of thousands annually. And now you found a young and beautiful wife. You're really blessed." Uncle Zhang patted his friend's shoulder and said, "You overestimate me. My factory's business is just modest. Compared to everyone here, it's nothing." The comment was made casually, but Aunt Wong was surprised to hear that Uncle Zhang's factory earned hundreds of thousands a year. She thought it was only tens of thousands. After the guests left that night, Aunt Wong mustered her courage and said to Uncle Zhang, "Starting today, we're family and the closest people to each other. I have one request. I don't know if it's appropriate to say." Uncle Zhang responded, "Since we're family now, there's no need to be polite. Speak up. If it's something I can do, I'll definitely agree." Aunt Wong went straight to the point. I used to live in the countryside and didn't have pension insurance. The few colleagues my age in the supermarket are already receiving pensions, though it's only around 2,000 yuan. But it's a permanent guarantee. I envy them. Since I don't have a pension, when I go out with them, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I want you to give me 200,000 yuan to keep in the bank for my retirement. Is that possible? Aunt Wong looked at Uncle Zhang with hope, feeling anxious. She worried Uncle Zhang might find her request too much, considering 200,000 yuan is not a small amount. She even feared Uncle Zhang might get angry and send her back home, which would be embarrassing. Everyone knew she had remarried. It would be a disgrace if things turned out this way. Unexpectedly, Uncle Zhang agreed generously. 200,000 yuan is fine, but you need to agree to 2 conditions. Aunt Wong didn't expect Uncle Zhang to agree so quickly. He was truly generous. Uncle Zhang's conditions were: 1. She should not work at the supermarket anymore, and 2. She should help take care of his daughter's children for 3 years. These conditions left Aunt Wong stunned. She had planned to continue working at the supermarket. Although the monthly income was only around 2,000 yuan, it added up to a considerable amount over time. If she stopped working, this income would be lost. Even though Uncle Zhang agreed to give her 200,000 yuan, it wasn't a large sum. If any significant expenses arose, it might not be enough. The second condition, taking care of his daughter's children for 3 years, made Aunt Wong even more hesitant. Hiring a nanny would cost around 50,000 to 60,000 yuan a year, totaling about 200,000 yuan for 3 years. Aunt Wong couldn't help but hesitate. Uncle Zhang noticed Aunt Wong's hesitation and became somewhat displeased. That night, he went to the bedroom alone without acknowledging Aunt Wong. She sat in the living room until midnight, contemplating many things. Since it was a remarriage, each person was considering their own interests. Aunt Wong increasingly felt that she couldn't agree to these conditions. However, since meeting Uncle Zhang, she felt a lot of sunshine had entered her life. She was happier and lighter on her feet. Uncle Zhang had become the most important thought in her heart. But now, the 2 realistic conditions were truly a dilemma. If she didn't agree, she'd lose the 200,000 yuan. Moreover, since Uncle Zhang proposed these conditions, he must have hoped she would fulfill them. If Aunt Wong refused, he would be disappointed, and it could affect their relationship. The next morning, Uncle Zhang went to his shoe factory after washing up. Aunt Wong went to the supermarket as usual. She shared her concerns with her colleagues, who offered various opinions. Some said she could earn 200,000 yuan by working as a nanny for 3 years, which was better than working at the supermarket. Others thought that asking for 200,000 yuan from a man 10 years older than her, along with taking care of his daughter's children for 3 years, was excessive. Listening to her colleagues' opinions only made Aunt Wong more troubled. That night, she went back to her own home instead of Uncle Zhang's. The empty home made her feel lost. She started thinking from Uncle Zhang's perspective, realizing that it would be unrealistic for him to give 200,000 yuan to a remarried partner without conditions. Uncle Zhang's daughter had just given birth to her second child, so if Aunt Wong helped for 2.5 years, it would be worthwhile. This would also make Uncle Jang and his daughter grateful. Aunt Wong tried to convince herself that even though it was a remarriage, it shouldn't be too materialistic. One must consider the other's perspective and be willing to invest in mutual feelings. That night, around 8 p.m., Aunt Wong used the excuse of moving some potted plants to invite Uncle Zhang over to help. Uncle Zhang understood that Aunt Wong was signaling reconciliation. He came over quickly, and they moved the 2 potted plants to his car. Aunt Wong resigned from her supermarket job and soon went to help take care of Uncle Zhang's daughter's children. Uncle Zhang had already given Aunt Wong the 200,000 yuan. His daughter was very grateful and took over the child care after work, allowing Aunt Wong to rest. Uncle Zhang's son-in-law cooked dinner, and Aunt Wong could relax. Taking care of the children wasn't too tiring for Aunt Wong. She started at 7:30 a.m. and left when the daughter was home. Uncle Zhang helped whenever he could, cooking meals and assisting with the children. Over the years of helping, Aunt Wong and Uncle Zhang's relationship grew stronger, and she developed affection for the daughter as well. Initially, the daughter was polite, but later became close. Once, when the daughter had a fever, Aunt Wong stayed over to help with the child, and the daughter, moved by her care, called her mom for the first time. At that moment, Aunt Wong felt all her efforts were worthwhile. The daughter frequently sent Aunt Wong red envelopes and bought her clothes and cosmetics. When the daughter's child started preschool, Aunt Wong voluntarily helped with picking up and dropping off the child. That year, Uncle Zhang's shoe factory did very well, and he gave Aunt Wong another 200,000 yuan. He advised her to combine it with the previous 200,000 yuan and save it as a fixed deposit for future retirement. Aunt Wong then understood that remarriage wasn't just about material exchange, but needed genuine emotional investment. Eventually, all her efforts were met with gratitude and return from the other party. Remarriage requires mutual understanding, empathy, and investment in emotions to walk together through the remaining years. The end. Thank you for watching. I hope today's story resonated with you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. This way, we can be with you every day as we grow, find happiness, and grow old together. See you next time.